Sisters of the shining moon, heaven, earth, and sea, I call upon you in this hour, bring magic unto me. Brothers, oh, the cauldron cries, it singeth unto me the songs of Mother Goddess and of Father in the tree.
Hello, my lovelies. This is Paisley Wild, and we are off adventuring into the spaces between. Um, we are being broadcast live on Truth Frequency Radio, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, and TalkStream Live. And if you're listening in on YouTube, make sure you hit that like button, folks. And if you want to hear or get alerts, make sure you're hitting the subscribe and the bell, too. So, no matter how you are hearing me, do make sure you stop in and say hello. And I just want to thank you for joining me on my journey. And I hope that you will want to continue learning with me. So, hello, hello, hello. And if you do want to support the show, do have the Etsy store going on. And that's www.etsy.com/Monarch Mountain Studio. And it's MTN for Mountain. Or you can check us out online. I've got the YouTube or the website going. It is www.thespacesbetween.live. And so I like to random shop, just saying, because why not? And so I got to thinking, I can make my own shower curtains. So I'll be adding some custom shower curtains because I want a new one. And I know it's kind of a little thing, but and dorky, I suppose. But hey, it's just me. The call lines are open tonight, so if you want to share your thoughts or opinions, or if you have questions, that number is 213-233-3998. Or if you're across the pond in the UK, that is 44203-393-2871. So hello, hello. Looks like we've got Deep Root in Hilarious in TFR and off into YouTube. Y'all are chatting it up already. I see Bun Bun, Cameron, Naysay, I am Pam. Hi Brent, Rachel gets it right. Yeah. So hope y'all are doing really good today as we rapidly approach the full moon. And I had a listener reach out to me through Facebook, and she had a request about how do you know if you're a witch? She wanted to know because, as we just passed a Samhain or Halloween, there's all these quizzes and articles on, ooh, hey, you're a witch. And anyways, I got to thinking, that's a really good question because it's not like, some parts of us are just, it's easy to see how tall we are, how much we weigh, the color of our hair or eyes or that kind of thing. But some things are very much harder to find out about ourselves. And if you're looking online, yeah, there's quizzes and puzzles and such that'll tell you if you're a witch or not, but which one's real? What's the right one? And some have an element of truth. Some are just kind of a propagation of the negative presses that witches have received throughout the millennia. And the very first misconception I would love to clear up is anyone can be a witch. Anyone can look like a witch. There's an entire hashtag movement that says hashtag what witches look like. We don't have the stereotypical nose. We don't, the hooked nose, the overgrown warts. We're not green. We look just like everyone else. We aren't all men or women. Actually, we're pretty much any gender. And we aren't specifically of any one sexual orientation or all orientations. I mean, we're as individual as the rest of the world. And we're really truly from many different countries around the world and nationalities and even political parties. So I'm kind of conservative myself, but that's just the way of it. So yeah, what's it mean to be a witch? How do you know that you're a witch? And wow, the number of articles I found with this definition or that definition were just kind of nuts. Some of them, hey, 7 signs you're a witch, 5 signs you're a witch, 11 signs you're a witch, 23 signs you're a witch. And some of them have some similarities, and some of them don't. And some of them are really out there. For instance, one article straight up said, you have to be a woman to be a witch. That's not true. Straight up, nope. You can be a guy, gal, anything in between. A cat, I suppose. I don't know. But a witch can be anyone. You look in the mirror, who do you see? Hey, you could be a witch. Seriously, it's that simple. But there's so what? I suppose the very first thing that I read that I thought was pretty accurate, I think, and probably right on more than anything else, is you have a strong intuition. Maybe you can, when you come across someone or when you're talking to someone, you may hear what they're not saying or read between the lines of what they're talking about, or kind of know what they're feeling, that sort of thing. Or when you meet someone, you just get that EBGB vibe and you don't want to be around them, and then you read later in the news or hear later in the news that they're a bad person. Or you bump into someone and it feels like they've been your best friend forever. That level of intuition, that universal energy coming to you. It's kind of a sixth sense, if you will, but that can often be a really good sign that you are either highly intuitive or, yes, you are a witch, or you have a tendency to that, to being a witch. Another one that actually I think that resonates a little bit with me personally, but maybe not for everyone, is you're kind of introverted. Personally, I think we're more polyverted, or that's not even the right word, but we're both introverted and extroverted, so it depends upon the situation that we're in. Um, so sometimes we do need to be introverted because we're working on things within ourselves, and we're not needing to be around other people to get the same kind of energy. And sometimes being around other people just really clouds what we're trying to do and our intuition, um, or or the things we're trying to sense or communicate with the universe. So unless you're with like-minded people, maybe in your circle, your coven, your mooch, your group, etc., you may just try to be a little bit more introverted and not spend as much time with people. That being said, I've met some very extroverted witches. OMG. You know who you are. And it's okay. Not all witches are introverted, not all are extroverted. It's just there seems to be a time and a place, and it's a little balanced, I suppose, depending on what you need. And often we do retreat a bit to recharge, in nature especially. You may sense energy, um, whether it's and not necessarily psychic or clairvoyant type energy, just energy in general. So you can sometimes feel the energy of the people around you, the places around you, the places that you go to, crystals, rocks, stones, that kind of thing that you might pick up, your tools. You just may sense that energy associated with that item or that person, place, or thing. Um, you may feel an energy boost or decrease depending on your personality type from storms or natural events like thunder, blizzards, even earthquakes, or the changing of the tide. You may just really feed on that energy just a little bit. It may soak into you, I guess. I know that for me personally, when I have a high pressure system move in, I can generally feel it. I feel a little bit buzzed a little bit sometimes. Um, or I can also get really big major headaches. It kind of depends on what I'm doing. So, but that universal energy, you may notice the ley lines or the energy of a place more than another. You may have witches in your family. That's also a pretty good indicator that you could be one. Yes. Now, you don't have to be a hereditary witch. Not all witches came from some sort of lineage or background. Although, in reality, if you look back far enough, there's some shamanistic element in pretty much all of our ancestry somewhere. So, yes, it is possible that you could be a witch just because your family was. But if you have like a grandmother, aunt, uncle, grandfather, a sibling or someone that seems to be really in touch with that side of them, then yeah, you may be a witch. You may feel when you come across witch type articles or information or reading or being around other people that are witches, that it's kind of like coming home. You feel like they're your people, they're your family that you didn't know you had, and you just feel this oneness, this strong connection. And I'm seeing what's being said in chat, and you will not, I do have to say this, you will not get a letter from Hogwarts saying that you're a wizard, Harry. Because that's really not the way it is. Sorry, guys. It's not as that open and shut. You may feel, excuse me, a calling, a revelation, if you will, perhaps during a dream or during meditation, or some sort of other experience, that you are a witch and you are connected to nature in that respect. Sometimes it may be accidental. It may be intentional. And but you may just feel this calling, and it can happen at any point, not just when you're young or mature or old or any of that. It could happen at any point. And excuse me, um, sometimes your previous life or your previous incarnation may have set you up to hear the calling at a certain point in your life when you've accomplished certain things. And you may feel called by a certain deity. It happens. I personally feel like I was called by Cernunnos, and that's just a thing for me personally. Um, and it's real for me. You may feel just really connected to nature. Um, and it's not necessarily like, oh, you're going to go hug a tree, because that's not what I mean. It's more like you may feel the energy shifts with the seasonal changes. You may really notice the moon cycle or the turn of the planets. You may feel very connected with the woods or trees or your garden or plants that you might have. Just being drawn to nature. Um, so things like wind or rain, thunderstorms, you may really feel the energy of them more because you have that extra connection to nature. Um, Same with animals. You may feel very, very drawn to animals. And so one of them, I'm serious, one list says you're a cat person. You know you're a witch if you're a cat person. It's like face palm. No, not necessarily. Not all witches are cat people. Not all witches are dog people. That's just not really the way it works. Um, yeah, it's not. Sorry. You like animals. You may feel connected to animals. And not just the fuzzy ones. It may be the slimy, scaly ones or the creepy, crawly ones or the ones that fly. Any of them. And animals are probably going to be attracted to you. I have been around dogs most of my life and cats, but mostly dogs. I've been bit by one dog in my entire life, and that's actually saying a big thing. And it was a poodle, one of those little bitty, yappy ankle biter types. I've always preferred big dogs. Give me a big dog anytime. And yeah, love dogs. And they always seem to like me too, so that's good. Some birds and horses, cows, that kind of thing. I'm a farm kid, that's part of it. But yeah, I feel personally very, very drawn to animals. I had considered actually a career in veterinary school until I got to researching just how many years of college that would be and how many dollars it was going to cost. And I was like, no, that's not going to work for me. I don't need that kind of financial debt or stress. So, um, yeah, it's just serious. You may often notice synchronicities. Just a minute, Naysay, and I'll answer that. So, if you've listened to Paranormal Portal or listened to any of the shows on Truth Frequency Radio, often we talk about synchronicities or things that seem to match up. And so if you are noticing more synchronicities or connections, that may mean that you could just be you're sensitive, and not all sensitive people are witches, but a lot of witches are sensitives, if that makes any sense. And so you may notice those synchronicities more. So Naysay just asked, would I believe that everyone has the ability to strengthen their own unique individual craft? Semantics. I'm not sure what you mean by semantics there, Naysay. But yes, I do feel that anyone has the ability to strengthen their own individual craft or their own individual path in their relationship to not only our ancestors, but the deities that we work with, the elements around us, the energy that surrounds us. And it all depends upon what you're focusing on. If you're focusing on your video games all the time, that's where your relationships are going to be, on your video games or online. If you're working with the people around you and communicating with the people around you, you're going to develop, stronger relationships with the people that you interact with. If you do meditation and you focus on the deities and such, that you spend time with, or you're working with your ancestors, that kind of thing, you're going to strengthen those bonds and strengthen those connections. So where you put your energy, just like any other relationship that you might have, where you put your energy with your path or in your tradition, um, then that is, that's where your strengths are going to be. That's where your growth is going to happen. Basically, and if you've heard the phrase, the grass is greener on the other side, there's a flip side to that. That's just because that's where the grass is watered, or that's where the BS is deeper, or whatever you want to put it. The grass is greener on the other side because someone's maintaining the yard. Either they're watering it, they're fertilizing it, or they're just, talking to it, whatever. But so what I'm saying here is where you focus your attention, what you take care of, is where you're going to grow your path. So Nase asked about Kanunos also. So on my personal path, I follow Hecate, or Hecate, depending on how you pronounce it. And then I feel called by Kanunos. And Kanunos is also the horned god referenced in Celtic mythology. And he's generally associated with vegetation, the wildlife. He's the lord of the forest, lord of the hunt. I'm trying to think here, just real quickly. Often he's depicted as the horned god, if you will, either with like elk horns or stag horns, or even there's goat horns. And often he's just dressed in clothes, and occasionally he's been depicted with cloven hooves, although that may be the Christian influence on Kanunos, and the interpretation of Kanunos. He's best known, or also known as the Green Man. And just trying to read here. He's also considered a fertility god just because of a couple of the artistic representations found in Celtic influenced Romanic or Roman art, because they put phalluses on everything. So I don't know. But generally, he works with the wildlife, the animals, the trees. He was considered originally a shamanic god of the hunt, and he's been carved on stones and such all over Europe and into northern U.S. or North America. And I don't know. I felt called partly because I had a couple signs, and I had some dream work and meditation, and then during a particular ritual, I had a stag actually come out into the yard and look at me, and that doesn't normally happen when I'm out in the yard. We have deer, yes, but not actually come out when I'm out there being loud and noisy. So I was like, oh yeah, pay attention to this. So anyways, so yes, I feel called by Kanunos, partly because I am more in touch, I suppose, with the natural world around me, the wildlife, the trees, I guess. I don't know if I'm explaining that very well, Nase. If not, say something and I'll try to clarify a little bit more. So Rachel comments, she is not sure if it was witchcraft, but for years she was able to draw herself to books that she thought about, not necessarily books on witchcraft, but just books that you wanted, all from various used bookshops. Actually, yeah, that's another thing that I was going to get to. I'm not quite there yet. Sure, why not? I'll do it though. You may collect unusual items. You may call different things to you, and sometimes they're tools, and sometimes they're just things that have value to you. Other people might think of them as garbage, like pebbles or feathers or shells or sticks that are twisted a certain way, or flowers. Like I know a lot of people keep a shamrock if they find a four-leaf shamrock, and they'll press it. Or if you ask for a sign, or if you're questioning something and you come across a feather that has a specific meaning to you, especially like in the Native American traditions, an eagle feather, there's big magic there. That's a very strong sign, being touched by the eagle. So a lot of those things, whether it's books or tools, they're called to you. Like a couple weeks ago, I talked about my athame. I'd been wanting one, but I hadn't quite decided which one I wanted. And it was something I'd been thinking about and thinking about and thinking about. And I had started looking and shopping, but I just hadn't really found anything I really wanted. Some are ornate and some are cluttered looking and some are too simple, and just I wasn't happy with any of them. And out picking elderberries to make my wine and everything, I happened to turn around and there's one laying on the ground. So I feel like I was called to it, or it was called to me, because I'd put it out there that I wanted one and I was looking for the right one. And it was simple. Basically, it's a simple hunting knife, but to me, yes, it's very much the right tool. And I feel like I called it to me. So yes, Rachel, I think it is a very much a skill that you might have as a witch. And then yes, the hagstones. That's another thing. It's a rock with a hole in the middle of it, and it's said that you can see through to the fae, or you can see the fae by looking through it, or it's a protection type ward that will come to you if you need it, or if you call it to you, if you're going to need that level of protection, and then to wear it. I know Brant Thomas, for instance, wears a hagstone often around his neck. He's mentioned it on his show a couple times. And yeah, I think that's something that, yes, you can definitely call to. And then as far as, labels, witches, warlocks, wizards, medicine men, shaman, or such metaphysical powers, yes. So those are all similar names, and they all kind of mean similar things, but yet not. Part of it is your tradition, part of it is your interpretation. Warlock was actually kind of a dirty word. And you know what? Bottom of the hour already. Holy cow, it's been 30 minutes. Can you believe it? So when we come back from break, I will talk about warlocks and why that's generally considered a dirty word. Be right back.
Brothers of the shining moon, heaven, earth, and sea, I call upon you in this hour, bring magic unto me. Brothers, oh, the cauldron cries, it singeth unto me the songs of Mother Goddess and the Father in the tree.
Hello, my lovelies. We are adventuring off into the spaces between, and thank you for joining me here. And I forgot to remind you the call line is open. It's 213-233-3998, and if you're in the UK, it is 44203-393-2871. And I was answering a question about some of the other names for a witch. And warlock is one that comes up often, especially in fiction and Hollywood and such. And it's a common name that people assume means male witch, but really, witch is gender neutral. Doesn't matter what gender you are, you can be a witch. Warlock is thought to be interpreted as someone who is a witch or who took a vow or an oath to someone and then broke it. So when, for instance, in the Bible, I know it says that it mentions warlocks, but it means oath breaker, not someone who practices magic, but someone who has broken oath or broken faith with the person that they gave their word to. Or a liar, if you will. And it's got a lot of negativity associated with it when it comes to being a pagan or a witch. So if you walk up to a group of witches, it's like, oh, hey, so you're all warlocks. You're probably going to get the stink eye. And people are not going to be very appreciative of being called a warlock. It'd be like being called a derogatory name from any other tradition or religion or race or anything like that. So don't just run out there and call everybody warlocks. Generally, they're witches. Shamans are generally more First Nation tribal, if you will. They're often very elemental. No worries, Daisy. He was just apologizing. It's a good question because it's something that, the media puts out there all the time. It's like they put witches and warlocks and shamans and everything else all in the same hat of names. And you don't know. If you don't know that it's a derogatory term, then how would you know without asking? And this is a good place to ask because I will answer and I will not judge you for it. I'm rather glad you ask because then I can talk about it and it clears the air. And if someone else had a question and they were worried about asking, then and they were afraid to for whatever reason, now they have the answer. So no, by all means, ask me questions. I love questions, and I will try really hard to not confuse you because I'm good at that too. So, yeah, no worries, Naysay. So yeah, just I think medicine men and shamans are more interchangeable as far as names go or titles go, depending again upon your path or your tradition. So mostly just ask, I guess, if someone wants to be called something or another thing. Now, in the neo-pagan movement, there is people going around saying they're trying to reclaim the title of warlock, which I don't know. Is my understanding that it's not a positive thing, but the neo-pagans have a slightly different movement that I don't always understand them. Maybe it's because I'm not as young as they are. So, uh, yeah, I don't know. It's the neo pagans are interpreting the old ways in a new way. I think is a good way to put it. And often the way they interpret things is very different from what the original intention was. And it's not bad to revitalize some things, but occasionally it's just the results are a bit odd. It's like accidentally putting cumin instead of cinnamon into your cinnamon rolls. Not all bad, but not quite what you were looking for. Yes, Nancy, that would be a fun short story. So, as far as tools go, often we have a very much stronger, that's great English there, Paisley, but we often have a stronger connection to the tools that we make ourselves. We don't always have the skill set or the the abilities to make some of those tools. By all means, it's absolutely fine to purchase or commission those. But yeah, often making our tools is a stronger connection. I know in listening to Brent and Don, for instance, they'll talk about people like, oh, well, we made our own Ouija board, and thinking that it would be less of a real thing than buying one at the store. And oh, for crying out loud, y'all, no, that's not the way it works. If you make something, you have a stronger connection with it, a stronger bond, because you've actually put the essence of yourself into that tool. So, like if I make something for sale on the Etsy store, for instance, or through the website, I will generally cleanse it before I send it out, because I don't need my energies traveling through to that particular tool. And then I generally recommend that the people who receive them cleanse them and set them, align them with themselves. So that's just kind of the way of it. So I've been talking about what signs that you may be a witch, and um, some of them, I got to tell you, this one article is 25 signs that you might be a witch, and some of them are just horrible. It talks about femininity often, and it wasn't even a site that was really feminine focused. It was just, I don't know. This list is just horrible, but it's one of the things it says is that the idea of being a witch resonates with you, as if you've tapped into a certain knowledge of who you really are. I think that one is accurate, probably 100% accurate. It's like, finding a $10 bill in your winter coat the next fall, or $100 bill, or whatever you put in there, or warm fuzzy socks when your feet are cold. It's that sense of comfort and coming home, and it's the first sip of coffee in the morning when your cup is just right, or the taste of chocolate. Is that just that coming home, or you go to a family member's house and all the smells are like when you grew up, and it's just that coming home smell. It's the sense that of belonging and of being, and at least as for me, being a pagan or a witch, both of them, I really feel this sense of belonging and connection to my past and myself, and in accepting that actually was hard, because growing up in a Christian household, I was taught that I had no value, and I shouldn't feel that way. And so actually just letting myself go and enjoy those feelings and embrace them, that was really freeing, actually. And so saying, yes, I am a witch, yes, I am a pagan, is very freeing. like taking off shoes that are too small. I mean, it feels right. Um, One of the things on this list is you wear black. Okay, no, actually, I'm wearing a paisley scarf tonight because paisley, yeah. And I'm wearing a white shirt, yeah. But for most of the day, I was wearing a red and orange sweater. So, no, I don't wear a lot of black. I do have it. I like wearing it, but I like wearing colors too. I think that is an inaccurate statement. I like to embrace all the colors. I have a lot of color in my house, um, on my in my room, in my bathroom, in the kitchen, all around me. I embrace color. I love color, so I think that is inaccurate. Um, I am definitely drawn to crystals, healing herbs, Reiki, astrology, tarot, runes, all of that. I'm drawn to it. I'm interested in it, and I want to know more about it. So that one I think is accurate. Um, Now, one statement here that I think is interesting and does need some discussion is, you understand that the deeds that you do are returned to you threefold, and you believe in karmic law. Okay, so it depends upon your tradition. If you're Wiccan, yes, you may believe in the threefold law. What you put out there comes back to you threefold, whether negative or positive. Some feel it's a tenfold law. What you put out there comes back. Karma, a little bit different, but still the same. What you put out there comes back to you. I am none of those things. I'm an eclectic pagan and a kitchen witch, and I'll talk about kitchen witch here in a few minutes. And I feel that what you put out there is what you see. It's what you're seeking. It's what you are looking for. And so it's not necessarily that what I'm putting out there is what I'm going to receive 100%. No, what I put out there is what I'm seeking from the universe. And by putting it out there also means I'm putting more out there than what was already there. So the overflow may come back to me. It may not always. And I'm okay with that, because I'm not this covetous person that says, oh, it has to all come back to me. No, I just feel, in my interpretation, is what you put out there is what you are seeking. And since you are seeking it, that is what you will find. That's what you're going to notice. You like making connections between past and present, and you feel the past is embedded deeply into your being. You feel the pain endured by your ancestors keenly. You may even experience flashbacks from previous lives. Now, this one I think has actually got some legitimacy to it also, because I do make a strong connection between past and present. I think our present life is very much influenced by our past, whether it's a previous life or just past events. If we don't know the history of ourselves, then we're doomed to repeat it until we learn that lesson. So, yes, our past is very, very important, and the past lessons from our previous lives. That's why being connected to yourself in that meditation and your dream work is going to bring those lessons to the forefront so you have them. Yes. Candle magic, yes. Candle magic is huge. All right, so Cameron asks, do you ever feel like something is for you, but you avoid it because you didn't want to do it with the people you know who are into it? Yes. Here locally in our community, there's a group that is just a really awesome bunch of ladies. They run a nonprofit to help out in the community. And I love supporting them, and I do as much as I possibly can. And for the longest time, I kind of avoided them, though, because of one specific member that was a part of their group. I didn't care for her character. I didn't care for her personality. I didn't want to spend that much time around her because she just, this person wasn't someone I would associate with normally. And it really colored my entire perception of the group, which is really unfortunate because they're just an awesome group of people. And now that that person is no longer associated, I feel like, woohoo, I can embrace this group of people, which is kind of unfortunate because the person I didn't care for isn't really as big a part of them as they let on or tried to make everybody believe. So it's some of it is perception, Cameron, but some of it is legit. Because a lot of times the people that are around us that are into a certain thing really aren't the ones that we want to associate with, because they've embraced the wrong part of the group or the message or the being. So if you know someone in your area that's part of a coven or a circle or a grove or whatnot, and the way they interact with their tradition or their beliefs, I can totally see why you may not want to associate with them, because you don't want to say, yes, I'm a witch too, and then find out, oh, well, you guys are all weird. Granted, there are a lot of pagans and witches that are kind of weird, because we accept everybody. But, yeah, part of it is just that's what happens. It's why a lot of us are very private individuals. We often practice as a solo practitioner, and it's hard to let go of that because we don't want to deal with some of the baggage that other people have, because we don't want to carry it. It's heavy, and we're not quite ready yet, and that's okay. So, Cameron, in that respect, I would really recommend that you learn more about yourself and your path and do your own research before you join them. And yeah, there is a lot of posers and pretenders when it comes to being a witch. When you do your research, you will see there's a lot of pretend and posers and fiction out there associated with witchcraft and witches and paganism, and it's quite vexing to be reading an article thinking, wow, this is a great article, and then you get down into it and you're suddenly like, oh, Harry Potter strikes again, or World of Warcraft, or what's another, Skyrim, any of those, and it's frustrating, I'll admit it. And there are those who just are kind of stuck in their world of make-believe. Some people who dress in the goth clothing style from earlier decades actually were witches, and most were just rebelling against their parents and authority. So it's really kind of hard to weed it out. And trust your intuition, Cameron. That's what I would have to say. I guess one thing that does resonate from this particular list, and I haven't read most of it because OMG, it's horrible. You believe learning is a calling and you love to learn all the time. And yes, learning is a calling and you learn all the time. I love learning all the time. So, I mentioned earlier that I am a kitchen witch, so I figured I should talk about that just a little bit. And, yes, Bun Society definitely needs to quit being judgmental. Educate yourself. Have an open mind. Do your own research. Don't believe the famous people because they don't know more than you do. Seriously. So a kitchen witch is someone who focuses their magical practice on the home and hearth and uses things commonly found in the kitchen as their magical tools. Now, a kitchen witch may be an expression of a religious faith, honestly, really, and it could be any religion, just saying. And a kitchen witches may focus their spirituality on ancestor spirits, or hearth gods or goddesses, or it may just be an outgrowth of a secular witch's homemaking activities, or a combination of any of that, or none of it. So, I use a lot of my herbal lore, herbal knowledge when I cook. Often I don't cook with a recipe. I grab what feels correct and I add until it feels right, and I just kind of go with it. A lot of my home decor is very eclectic, and it's a broad mix of many things. I've got original artwork, I've got pottery, I've got crystal, I've got feathers and seeds and shells, and you name it, I've probably got it in my house. Makes it a little cluttered, just a little, but at the same time, it's homey for me. Just really homey. For me, it when I walk into a place, it needs to feel cozy and warm. So that's kind of the home part of it. Often, when I am fixing myself a cup of coffee or cup of tea, I have a certain thought process that I put into it. Really, truly, sometimes I'm stirring in a sigil or putting my intent into the cup as I'm making it. Um, Kitchen witches often use herbal oils or tonics instead of going to the doctor, which is something I do. Um, I will also do other things like salt to cleanse or sage to cleanse. Um, I use a lot of honey. I brew my own wine. I make wine. I make mead. I still want to make sake. It just hasn't happened yet. So I'm doing these creative type things. Some of it you may consider the old talents like canning and that kind of thing. I do that too. It just seems appropriate for me, and it's a way for me to embrace my past a little bit and just embrace me. Um, and you know, I like gardening. I like being that connection with herbs and such. And I don't know, I cook. I like herbal remedies and such. So for me, that is what being a kitchen witch is or does. And not so much the religious side of it, but the practice side of it, or the do side of it, rather than the feel side of being a witch. Um, Rachel mentions something about love spells, and yeah, love spells are something that I think I've mentioned it once or twice, and I'll probably mention it repeatedly again in the future. Love spells are really not okay because you're affecting the way other people thinking or doing. It is better to do an awareness or an openness spell to or a communication spell or ritual to bring communication or bring two people together. That is more important or has more validity or more energy or appropriateness to it than trying to force someone to love you, because there's all sorts of potential negativity if the relationship doesn't work out. It's that unintended consequences. And I talk about that every so often too. You really need to stop and think about what you're doing and why you're doing it before you do it. Otherwise, you may miss out on the potential consequences of the thing that you're doing. There's the ones you know, and the ones you don't think about. And the ones that you don't think about are the ones that are going to come back and bite you in the butt. And that's not good. So, um, yeah, it just, pay attention to what you're doing. Focus your intent. I think intent is really one of the keystones or cornerstones of any witchcraft or pagan ritual or spell making of any kind. Setting that intention prior to doing whatever it is you're going to do. So I hope that helps. I hope that clarifies some things on what it means or how to know you really are a witch. And and Cameron, I gotta tell you, that actually is kind of the thing, though. When I said I was called by Kanunos, it was one of those smack my head moments, because like, derp, if I had been paying attention, I wouldn't have been just so confused for so long. So, yeah. Be aware. and be open-minded when you're doing your research and your study and stuff. So if you have questions about, or need me to clarify anything, by all means, let me know. It's wildpaisley@gmail.com, WILDEPAISLEY@gmail.com. And you can also find me on Facebook, or you can catch me or send me a message through the website. It's thespacesbetween.live. And check out the website and the Etsy store, etsy.com/shop/Monarch Mountain Studio, and it's MTN for the studio, because I have a wonderful view of the Monarch Mountains here. Anyways, so thank you all for joining me tonight, and Naysay, I will get that contact info from Mr. Don, and stay tuned. I think there's a really good show coming on after bit, and thank you all for joining. So merry meet, and merry part, and merry meet again, and tomorrow night we're going to go back to the archetypes. Got to finish up there too. Have a good night.
Lord, within the sun.